Okay, let's start our journey with algebra. What we see here in front of us is actually what we call an equation. Why is it an equation? Because it has an equal sign. All equations have equal signs. And it actually is saying that everything on this side equals 12. That's what this particular equation is saying. So what we have to do, our job is to isolate the variable. The variable is going to be the answer of what we're going to find the answer at the end of our process with our equation to see what the value is sitting in the variable to get to 12. Now, we can already guess. We know 5 plus 7 is 12. So you're probably going to find the answer to this is 7. But let's see how we got there. So the first thing we have to do in equations is to isolate the variable. We've got to get the variable to stand on a side of the equal sign without any numbers with it. So at this stage we have x with a number. We've got to get this number to go stand on that side. And the rules in equations is what you do to this side, you have to also do to that side. So for us to get plus 5 away, in other words, back to 0, we have to minus a 5, not so. And then we have to do it on the other side as well. So let's look at the next line. Let's write down everything as it stands. There it is. Now we need to get rid of this plus 5, and we're going to get, think of your number line. If you're on 5, to get back to 0, you have to minus 5. So let's minus 5. And because we did that on this side, we also have to do it on the other side. So let's do it on the other side. So now we're left with plus 5 minus 5. So those two cancel out. And we've got x equals 12 minus 5. Okay, so let's look on the next line. We're going to be left with x equals 7. These two cancelled out, and we had to just solve that, which became 7. So x came down to stand here, and that came down to stand here. X is equal to 7. And we know that because 7 plus 5 is equal to 12. Okay, let's look at the next one. With equations, you always use the opposite to get rid of. Like if we've got a plus 3, we're going to minus a 3. So it's always the opposite to get rid of the number in order to isolate our variable. Our variable here is n. We've got n plus 3 equals 4. So what are we going to do on the next line? Well, let's first just rewrite it before we take away our 3. We've got n plus 3, so we're going to minus a 3, and we do the same to the other side. Right. Now what's left on the next one? N is equal to 1. Why? Because plus 3 minus 3 became 0. So n was on its own. It came and stood here. 4 minus 3 became 1, and it came and stood there. N is equal to 1. And let's check it. 1 plus 3 is equal to 4. Yes, it does work if we put 1 into the value of n up here at the top. Right. So something minus 7 is 5. And we're going to try and isolate our x. We have to get rid of our 7 there. So we're going to minus 7 has to become a plus 7 to go back to 0. Remember our negative number line? Okay, so let's do that. We first write down as it was. Now we're going to get rid of our 7 over here in order to get our x to stand on its own. And minus 7 has to be plus 7 to get back to 0. And because we did it on this side, we have to also do it on the other side. And then what are we left with? We are left with x equals 12. Why? Because minus 7 plus 7 cancels out. We have an x here, which comes and stands here. 5 plus 7 is 12, which stands there. So x is equal to 12. And let's check it. 12 minus 7 is equal to 5. We know that. Right, next one. So we're going to have to isolate our y. And how are we going to do that? We're first going to have to take something away. But before we start that, we first got to simplify this equation. You can see this equation over here, it looks fine like we've seen before, but on this side it's got 4 with a little dot in the middle and 3. Now that little dot means times, so let's first put our times in its way. So that means we're going to solve this first before we work with that. So on the next line, let's write 4 times 3 as 12. And we're going to go and see how it's going to look. It's y plus 3 stays the same on this side for now until we work with it. Put our equal sign in, and then 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, so we've now simplified that piece. Now, the next step is we need to isolate y. So we're going to do that by taking 3 away. Plus 3, to take plus 3 away, we have to minus a 3. And because we did it to this side, we're going to have to do it to the other side. Now we're left with y equals 9. because plus 3 and minus 3 cancel out. This y comes and stands here. 12 minus 3 is 9. And let's check it. 9 plus 3 equals 12. That's correct. We just took the 9 over here. That y equals 9. We put it in there. 9 plus 3 equals 4 times 3 is 12. And it worked. Okay, so these are the basics of algebraic equations. You've always got to isolate the variable. And you do the opposite to get rid of the number standing next to it. So if it's a plus, you minus it. If it's a minus, you plus it. And you always do it to both sides because there's an equal sign involved. Let's look at some more detailed versions of equations in the next lecture. Press subscribe to my channel so that you can be kept ahead with all the new lectures and little clips. They're all short that I put on the channel so that you can become a stronger student and get better grades.